Welcome everybody to the live studio from CyberTech Global 2022 in Tel Aviv. We are very excited today because we have some major guests with us today from Yandex and from Israel, so it's going to be a nice international collaboration, nice international panel. We have with us Yevgeny from Yandex, then we have with us Yair and Nati, who are going to be the Israeli representatives. We can call you guys if we want to do that today. I would love for you guys to give a little brief introduction about who you guys are and where you guys come from, and then we'll get into the topic of this conversation, which is going to be a very interesting one about the whole idea of code review and how that is redefining the cybersecurity ecosystem and sector. So let's begin with you, Yevgeny. Give us a little bit of a background, who you are, where you come from, and what you're doing with Yandex.
Yeah, right. Well, as you said, my name is Evgeny Sidorov, and I work for Yandex Cloud specifically. I'm CSO of Yandex Cloud, mostly doing security and security services for Yandex Cloud.
And could you give us a little brief understanding of what Yandex Cloud is?
Yandex Cloud, it's full-fledged cloud platform. We provide services like IaaS, PaaS, managed databases, serverless stack, security services, as I mentioned.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Yair?
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well, even though we had a brief talk yesterday.
Yeah, also. And yes, I'm doing security for a few decades. Spent 25 years in the Israeli Air Force. Did different roles in the industry.
Very cool.
Around application security. My focus in the past 12 years is ramping up application security programs for organization.
Okay.
Did that for 5 years in Checkmarks, ramping up it for a large-scale organization.
Very
and
cool.
Code review is a major part of this part. We'll speak about this more during this session. And of course, currently I'm partnering together with Door Technology for this specific project that we have.
Right. So it also sounds like you were kind of one of these types of founders of code review in many ways, like that you kind of had this very unique thought process behind it. Could you just give us a brief understanding of what code review even is? Because I think a lot of people don't know. It sounds simpler than it might be in a certain sense.
As part of the building the code and building the application, you need to introduce security assurance and security controls in the way that you are building up your application. So code review is one of the main part of this process, and it includes a well architect about the solution to verify that you are accumulating the right requirements, regulation, compliance, whatever is needed to build your functional application. The second part is looking that you are building your application with best practices that are supported by different frameworks in the industry.
So truly a review of actually how you're going about it.
Yeah, like using the industry standards for encryption, for session management, for other parts that you need to put in place while you are building your solution. And later on, you need to do some kind of a verification that it's an ongoing process where you need to do an automated scannings, finding common vulnerabilities like cross-site scripting, SQL injection. Plus, you need to make sure that there is no business logic flaw in your application, and that requires some manual code review with a high skill set.
Which you clearly have.
Tend to have.
Well, or at least they told me, at least before the interview, right?
Yeah.
And Nati, could you give us a little brief introduction on yourself as well?
Good morning, Jordan. My name is Brigadier General retired Nati Cohen. I was the head of the C4I, the J6 of the IDF. Actually, we created the cyber defense branch in the military 10 years ago.
Wow.
And 3 years ago, I retired, and I was the general director of the communication office in the government. I developed all the 5G and the fiber operation in Israel. And now, for the last year, I'm the chairman of Door and Cyber IL companies. I'm also chairman of IBC. It's the competitive of Bezeq on the fiber project in Israel with Hot and Cellcom.
Bezeq being the internet provider in Israel.
So, but we are the competitive of Bezeq.
Well, good. I think that's important.
Yeah, right.
So it's good that you're here. So welcome everyone. Again to this panel. what I would love to discuss with you guys today is this whole idea of code review and basically how it is this innovative methodology of kind of creating a new level of cybersecurity and a new level of cyber defense. So first and foremost, I want to go to Evgeny here. I want to ask you, why is the Yandex approach so different than other hyperscalers in the world? What are you guys doing differently? What are the methods you guys are using that is different? And kind of explain to us a little bit about it.
All right, so let's frame it a little bit. So it's better to start with the question like what Yandex is doing here in Israel. So we are developing and we are setting up a cloud platform here to be localized. It will be called Cloud AL, and it's a kind of new approach to build cloud platform. So like usually we have like major hyperscalers that have different regions around the world and so on, but we have different organizations that want to move to cloud, and cloud is inevitable, but sometimes there can be kind of roadblocks that some data cannot be moved to cloud because the data should be localized, the data should be governed, and when you're moving things to cloud, you need to ask yourself, who accesses my data, and from which country, how access is managed, and so on. And even if there is a local data center, it doesn't guarantee that.
Now, when you also bring up this whole idea of localized center, what do you mean exactly? Because I think a lot of people at home, when they think cloud storage, you don't really think of localization, right? You think it's in the cloud. So what does that mean exactly?
Localization means like a strict data governance policies, and that access to the data is managed locally by local people and under local legislation. So there is no risk that other country or other legislation can order to like get out the data from this local data center. So, and this opens the path to the strictest compliance and security requirement that can be met under this model. And together with Nati and Yair, we developed a model how to make it possible to deploy Yandex Cloud here in Israel and make it localized and trusted and transparent.
Very interesting. I want to bring up also this idea of transparency, right? Because I think that's something that's, one, it's a buzzword today. We all want a transparent, solution. Everyone wants transparency in the government, everything like that, right? But at the end of the day, when you guys say transparency, and I'll take this to you, Yair, what is the code review that makes it so transparent to the end user?
Yeah. So first of all, you need to look on what Yandex already have in place. Yandex is a mature company. They run the business for many years. So they already have in place an application security program in motion. It's not something that
it's not new
for them.
Yeah, of course.
So they already have this embedded into internal processes. But coming and doing localization of their technology here in the Israeli cloud means that you need, first of all, to do some adjustment that will apply to the local solution that we have here to meet our regulation, compliance.
So that's when you say that you're kind of like making it work for the local area, it's mainly compliance and regulation issues?
It's regulation adjustments. And then you need to have some kind of a verification process that will be transparent to customers. When customers are doing a business there and putting their trust in the cloud, they want to have like a third-party assurance, and they want to make sure that the attestation of what the company is saying that is doing is actually done, and it's done to their satisfaction. So you have a normal compliance program like SOC 2, which is a kind of an attestation stating these are the controls. We took evidence, we checked you, and you are doing what you are.
And you're doing exactly what you say, and you're doing it well. Okay.
Part of what we are doing here, which I think it's a new angle of the things, because we take the technology of Yandex to implement it here in the local cloud, we become part of their process. So we make sure that they coverage the requirements that we would like to see here. In terms of what is the coverage of the code, what vulnerabilities are we covering, what is the design that will support our requirements, specific requirement for Israel. And we make sure that whatever they ship to us as a code, we deploy it, and nothing is happening between the moment that it leaves Yandex up to it getting over here, and we keep the chain of supply secure.
So you're basically keeping the confidence of the code real, basically, because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, what you're saying is that right now there's kind of an issue in the industry that I get kind of, let's say, code from Yandex, try to bring it here to Israel, and there's a whole mess in the middle.
Yeah, so it's more than that. Like if you take the other competitors that bring clouds over here,
Sure.
and they can open a region over here, but this region is managed and operated fully by them, and we want to create a higher trust with the local team that this is controlled and owned by the local government and the local country that is running
Sure, the
this,
ecosystem here.
The ecosystem. So
Right.
that builds a better trust, and we create a transparency from the moment that we design the application through the process of construction of the application, verification, and shipping and deploying it in the Yandex, in the cloud IL,
Sure.
in the local cloud. All of this is monitored, verified, and it's a collaboration between the local state and the vendor that brings the technology, and all together merge into one full process.
That's
It works
awesome.
like a well-oiled machine.
No, it's like an end-to-end verification process almost.
Yes.
It's very unique in that sense.
So you don't like throw over the fence. You are involved in the
Right.
entire process of the building up the solution.
Right, from Yandex to local in a sense.
From design to shipment.
Got you.
That's the
Now, I want to go to Nati here because I think, you bring up a very interesting thing. You, obviously, from your background, when you hear this type of situation, you're probably thinking, okay, I'm getting code from someone else. I'm bringing it here into the national security parameter, we can say. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. There's a lot of things that are vulnerable. You have a lot of threats. And not to mention that you don't even know what's going on the vendor's end, so you can't necessarily even know how you're going to protect yourself locally. Can you explain a little bit about, from the national perspective, what Israel is taking from this?
Of course, I think that what Yair said, it's the important idea of the operation that we have. He said, we want to create a higher trust, because to trust in every vendor that comes to here, to the market of Israel, of course, and the clients wants the trust, and we hear a lot of zero trust and all these things.
Right.
But when we created this operation, the first thing that we said to Yandex is we have two things that it's go without saying. One is a local partner that will deliver all the operation. And the second one, we will create the model of the security, and you need to go by this.
You need to go
model.
by the book that we're creating for you, not the other way around.
No, together, but together.
Okay.
To do it together.
Very collaborative
jointly,
element then.
Of
Okay.
course, to do it together. So they agreed, and what we did, we created the model. I sent you the slide of the model. What the model says? The model says there's the standards.
Okay.
It's national standards. This is okay. This is every company. But we're starting with the infrastructures, the data center, and the network need to be the best secured in Israel. So we chose Med1. Med1 is one of the best secured data center in Israel.
Okay.
The second layer, and this is unique, is the hardware. All the scanning of the hardware that comes to Israel, we scan it in a special lab in Yokneam, FiberNet, that it's the first time that they work with a company that it's not security officially.
So basically you're saying that you guys kind of took out we can say the larger security infrastructure,
Right.
and you're moving to more of a private sector type of model.
Right.
Wow,
This is
very
true.
interesting.
The third thing is the code review, what they talk, and this is the most, hard and difficult in all the model.
Okay,
Because
why is that?
We will talk about it.
Okay, so we'll get there in just a second with you.
and the other one is, of course, the authorities in Israel to show them Israeli layer that we will create, and PT every half a year. So I think that the most compliance and competitive and hard issues is the code review, and it's the first time that you do it in Israel. Even the military and even the government doesn't do this kind of operation.
Interesting. Is there a lot of pushback right now in Israel from this model? Is there
No.
like obstacles that are kind of having to be met?
So a lot of companies and clients, potential clients, are says, you know what? I think that this model. I need to adapt it also to my operation.
Really?
But
Okay.
I don't know a vendor that allows to do this kind of operation. I don't know it.
Okay.
So because of this, it's very, very special operation. And the day by day partnership between Evgeny and Yair, the teams are we create something new.
Truly. No, it's very innovative. I mean, you guys are creating a new whole collaborative system. Now, I want to go kind of a little bit into this before we go into the whole kind of collaborative element here. What makes the code review, and I know you kind of brought it up, you said that there's this manual element, there's an automatic element, but what makes it truly so difficult, like Nati was saying, and so time intensive, maybe resource intensive, and why that might kind of be an obstacle for adoption?
So I'll start with maybe a statement saying I was working also for LivePerson, for ServiceNow, cloud vendors that provided a solution. And the way that you do business in the cloud is security.
Right.
Security is the way that you do business.
Sure.
That's the very basic. And when I was in other companies, cloud companies, there were like huge questionnaire trying to create this level of trust before they give up their data into your solution.
They were just questionnaires.
Questionnaire like 3,000, or maybe give me some evidence, show me that you did like static code analysis. Here
Doesn't sound very cybertech-y, you know what I mean?
and I don't know a vendor that says, okay, take all my intellectual property, all my code, review it line by line, see everything, like open the...
it's like open the doors, basically. You're letting someone into your back door.
This is trust.
Yeah,
Yes.
of
This
course.
is a real trust.
That is truly trust, yeah.
And this makes it kind of an open source kind that everybody can look and research the code. What we are doing is we come to this technology, we are evaluating it, doing the design review, giving our feedback on potential weaknesses that are in the platform. We are going to look deep inside into the code to the level of how the developer, and there is a legacy code, and we will be able to feedback. And with this collaboration and openness, the vendor is willing to take the next step and response to these challenges.
No,
Right?
it's
It's a challenge. If you go to any vendor that you know and ask him, give me the code, let me give you feedback, and before I use it, you will fix what I'm telling you, you will see that not all of the big companies,
Of course
Fortune
not.
100, will not give up for that.
Of
And
course
I
not.
think
They
this
open
is-
their doors too much. It's a little bit too vulnerable.
Means that the vendor means business. He is willing to take whatever feedback that you give him and be audited through the entire process and do the modification and adjustment to deploy it here on the Israeli cloud. And I think this is showing strength. If somebody is looking this from the side, he says, okay, if this is the process that you went and there is evidence that
Sure.
you do that, then we trust the process.
Right, it
Okay?
kind of creates a double-sided trust element there.
Yes.
Now, I want to also go to Yevgeny here. What is Yandex take on this whole collaborative element? Because in many ways, you guys are saying, hey, open our doors, look at our code, make sure it's good, and you kind of leave yourself open to this whole vulnerability. So what is your take on this whole, Yandex-Israel collaboration that's kind of being brought up right now?
Here we are creating like a joint venture, together with Door to provide these cloud services. And what we take, the first is just to make this cloud trusted and to set it up for the highest compliance requirements, the highest security requirements to meet like Israeli security standard. The second is just we are trying to preserve core products. So any improvements we put into our processes, we just make the whole product more secure. It's not only about Israeli installation; it's about all the other installations that we can set up, and they will meet all the other requirements. And it's kind of challenge for us because we're doing that for the first time, and the main We're not doing like it like a one shot. We need to do it like a process, continuous process of this verification and assurance. It's this code review to embed independent security controls into our development process and to make them work every time we do changes, we deploy changes, we do scanning and so on.
No, very interesting. It's also what I find so interesting is that as a big tech, company, you guys are really trying to open yourselves up to development and betterment, which is really unique here.
Yeah.
Guys, I want to thank you so much for your time in the live studio. It's been very, very good talking with you guys, understanding this whole new process of code review, this innovative, collaborative approach between the Israeli government and Israeli local ecosystem and Yandex. I wish you guys a lot of luck and everything, and we're very excited to see the advancements. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, German.